I have a quick question before we get started. How would you like to win a one-on-one virtual coaching session with me to discuss your art business? I know I would love to connect with you. A one-on-one coaching call is a powerful way to help you move forward on your artist journey. Whether you need help thinking through your art website, setting up an art routine, or organizing your first exhibition, a personal coaching session will help you take your next steps. Here's how you can become a lucky winner, and it's really simple. Head over to the Help I'm Artist podcast community Facebook group. It's my brand spanking new community for visual artists who are wanting to connect with other creatives and me in a more deeper, personable way. I've started this group for artists who are ready to take bold, brave steps to turn their creativity into a meaningful, sustainable art business. Each week you'll find me in this group where I'll be sharing live teachings, new insights, practical tips, and more about the featured podcasts. It's a place of connection, learning, and inspiration. So to celebrate this brand spanking new art community, I'm offering a free in-person coaching call to one lucky subscriber who joins the group this week. At the end of the week, I'll be drawing the name of one lucky artist. And this could be you. If I draw your name, I'll be getting in touch with you about this free coaching call. So head over to the Help I'm Artist podcast community Facebook group and join in today. You'll find the link in the notes wherever you're listening to this podcast. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. We just need to be aware of it if we're building an art career, a profession, a revenue stream around our creativity, that it's not going to be easy. It's going to take that extra effort, extra energy, and extra clout to make it work. Setting up those structures around your art is not going to be easy, and making impact online will take tremendous effort. But if you're willing to go for it and do whatever is necessary, you are going to see results. My name is Sonia Small here. I'm an artist, an art coach, and a course creator. When I graduated from the Art Academy, I had learned how to paint and how to draw, but I had no idea how to earn a living with my creativity. I was not prepared for the life as a working artist. This often left me quite frustrated, sometimes on the verge of calling it quits, throwing away my brushes and giving it all up. But I'm so glad I didn't. After many failed attempts and valuable lessons learned, I've discovered ways to turn my creative dream of being a working artist into a reality, now giving me the freedom to live the life I love. I created the Help I'm Artist podcast because no matter where you are in your journey, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've been a working artist for a while, you too can take steps to turn your creative passions into a meaningful, sustainable profession. The Help I'm Artist podcast is filled with fresh inspiration, step-by-step practical insights, and interviews with artists who are experts in their field. If you're a smart artist or one in the making who is looking for new and exciting ways to get your art out of your studio and into the hands and hearts of an audience that's appreciative and willing to pay its worth, then you're in the right place. Happy listening. Let's get started. Oscar Wilde once said, "When bankers get together, they talk about art. When artists get together, they talk about money." Money, or the lack of it, is reason number one many artists and creators never dare to step out to turn their creativity into a career. I just don't have the money. I need a real job. It's just too risky, are some of the reactions I get when I talk to amazing creators. Money is such a big issue. So many creatives simply stay where they are, usually quite miserable, never stepping out or reaching their creative potential. And in the creative industry, money is not always a very popular word. When I was studying at the Art Academy, money was such a taboo, a word not to be used in the same sentence as art. Money is the subject least addressed by artists, yet it's such a big stumbling block. So I thought it would be good to take the bull by the horns and have the money talk. Just shed some new light on the subject and possibly dispel and demystify some of these art money myths. In this episode, we are going to be looking at 5 artist money myths, and I'm going to demystify them. Number 1, I can't make any money with my art. Maybe you've been making some amazing art, but you have trouble selling it. Having great art is no guarantee that your art is going to sell. It takes more than just making art, just hoping and praying that someone's going to find it, that somebody is just going to stumble across your work. It's going to take more to earn a living with your creativity. Statistics don't lie. Research done at the University of Amsterdam concluded that only 1 out of 5 professionally trained artists can make an income with their art. The rest either had part-time jobs or worse yet, had given up altogether. And in the UK, 50% of creatives calling themselves artists say they earn 25% or less income with their art. Does this sound familiar where you live? So you've been to art school or you've self-taught, you've learned your craft, but you can't earn a living from it. Something is missing in this equation. It's not that your art is bad. There's more for you to consider. And there's a reason many parents discourage their children to go to art school. They have seen too few happy working artists. Fortunately, the times have changed and are changing. There's a whole new art market emerging, and these are exciting times for artists to create and sell their work on a whole new level. Familiar ways are no longer that effective, and the artists that are pivoting, reevaluating, and changing their business strategies are seeing success. With close to 60% of the world population actively using the online space, you have a whole huge potential market to sell your art to. The art market of buying and selling art online is growing each year. Talk about potential. There's a whole market out there. The challenge is to find out how you can connect your art and how it can resonate and best connect with your art audience. So why is selling art so difficult? If we're going to make money and have this money talk, we need to consider the economics of the art market. So stay with me. In any healthy economy, there's always the balance between supply, the amount made, the products, and the demand, the amount sold, how much there's a need for these products. And the art market is disbalanced. There is a disbalance in the scale. The art market is simply oversaturated. Now don't leave now, just hear me out. Just think of a scale. On the one side, we have thousands of amazing artists making incredible art, and on the other side of the scale, we have the art audience. And it's fair to say that there are far fewer art buyers, art consumers, than there are artists. This doesn't mean that they don't like your art. It's because they have no idea who you are, or underevaluate or don't have an understanding of what art is. So normally what would happen, economically speaking, supply and demand will correct itself and will come into balance. When there's less need, less demand, the supply will be adjusted. But artists want to make art. We just can't help ourselves. It's what we love to do. It's what we need to do. So there's little to no correction. You can't tell an artist, the market is saturated, please don't make your art. That's just not going to work, and that's also not necessary. Many would say that art is a non-essential, but it still deserves a prominent place in our society. Art is so important, but I'll talk a little bit about that later. The ability to create life and art is uniquely human and is so important in our society, in our world, in our lives, and has profound value. So before you get totally discouraged and depressed and head off and tear up your art or throw away your brushes, even though the statistics tell us that being an artist is difficult, that being an artist is not easy, and probably the most difficult profession to be successful in, it's not impossible. There is something that you can do about it. And in this podcast, we'll be looking at what to do to bring more balance. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. We just need to be aware of it if we're building an art career, a profession, a revenue stream around our creativity, that it's not going to be easy. It's going to take that extra effort, extra energy, and extra clout to make it work. Setting up those structures around your art is not going to be easy, and making impact online will take tremendous effort. But if you're willing to go for it and do whatever is necessary, you are going to see results. At times it may seem like you're in a rocket being launched into outer space. Getting that rocket off the ground takes tremendous power, extreme amounts of fuel, and a lot of shaking around in a tin can before you reach that state of weightlessness, where all your hard work and effort start to feel a little bit less like a strain. So it's worth it. It's only going to get easier over time, but it'll take extra effort. If you want to be that happy working artist, building solid, sustainable business structures around your creativity, that is not just going to be there for a moment, but for a lifetime of meaning. So let's get practical. If you're going to make this work, if you want to create a revenue stream, earn money with your creativity, you need to see yourself then more than just an artist. This brings me to the second myth. Second myth is, I don't care about money, I just want to make my art. Many artists tell me they simply don't care about money and that they are bad at business, that they have no business sense and don't know where to start or what to do. If you can compose a painting, set up a palette in a systematically premeditated fashion, you can get that business frame of mind. It's more about accepting that you need to be more businesslike and that being in business is part of a working artist's life. So firstly, get into the right frame of mind. Come to terms with the fact that you need money to pay for your life, for your materials, for your dreams. It's time to develop a healthy relationship with money. Talking about money doesn't make you less creative. It doesn't make you a non-artist. The contrary is true. Having that healthy relationship with money, understanding a cash flow, how to manage your budget in the best possible way will make you a better artist. It will open up new doors. It will help you grow and build a sustainable art career no matter what comes your way. It'll give you far more control. But if you're feeling that resist to talk about money, I want to challenge you to explore why this may be. Why does talking about money make you feel uncomfortable? Does talking about money make you shy? Do you find it difficult to get the price out of your mouth when asked what your art pieces cost? Do you find it impossible to see yourself as a business person and the word budget and investment sends you heading for the hills? Or does money evoke a feeling of shame? Your art is a beautiful expression that comes from a deep place, and you feel guilty about asking money or even feel ashamed because you love doing what you're doing and you can't put a price to that. How can you ask money for something you love to do? For you, maybe money is associated with striving, with sweat, blood and tears, with hard work and doing what you don't want to do. Or maybe you found your creative sweet spot and you find it easy to make what you do, and you do it with love and with passion and with energy. Your creativity flows effortlessly and you just love it. How can you put a price to that? How can you ask money for something that comes so easy? It's time to get super honest and put your relationship with money under the microscope. When you think about money, how do you feel? Is talking about money making you feel uncomfortable, ashamed, irritable, or shy? Our relationship with money, or the lack of it, is deeply rooted in our DNA. So how did your parents or your surroundings, your culture talk about it? Was it a subject that brought tension or stress, or something that you really never thought about? Maybe you've had negative experiences with family or relations that used money to manipulate, or who were dishonest, or used money as power. This is enough to give you a bad taste in your mouth. Maybe you have a feeling that money is bad, and if you ignore it long enough and not be associated with it, it'll just simply go away. But not talking about it or seeing the value of a healthy relationship with money will keep you from growing in your art and your art business. It's time to see money for what it is. It's an exchange unit for the value that you're bringing. As an artist, you bring value to the table. What you make matters, and in exchange for that value, money is the currency. So whatever resists, repels, reserves you have on the subject, it's extremely important for you to understand that how you see money is how others will value that what you have to share. So if you're shy to name the price, you stutter and mumble when people ask you how much it costs, then you're going to have other people feel insecure about you and your art. It's important to get confident about your art, and you can practice to have that money talk. Write in a journal, practice in front of the mirror, talk to a friend, or even make a video of yourself having the money talk. The more prepared you are, the more confident you'll be when talking the money talk. And confidence comes by knowing your worth, knowing your value. If you've developed healthy thoughts and practices around pricing your art, sharing your pricing, setting up a good and safe payment system when selling at an event or website, this will filter through every part of your communication. But you first need to be convinced of your value, of that what you bring to the table, in order to be convincing. That you are convinced that you're not bothering people. When you send an email, when you are offering your art, when you're sharing your work, you're not bothering people. You are actually doing them a favor. You need to get into that frame of mind. If you're offering value and you're doing it with taste and with skill, you are doing people a favor. You are bringing value. You are adding value to people's lives. Your relationship with money reaches far beyond the price that you're asking for your art. You need to consider commissions, licensing deals, or you're organizing a workshop, giving lectures, working in collaborations. All involve the money talk. Your rent, your materials, your budget, your accounting, the tax that you need to pay, all involve the money talk. So the more aware and prepared you are, and the healthier your relationship is with money, you will start seeing the effects in your business. It's time to see yourself as a business person. You're not just the artist, you're also in the business of art. And I want to encourage you to do this little test, to go through this SWOT test. It's determining what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are as an artist entrepreneur. Maybe you're making your art, you can see all your strengths, you've discovered your weaknesses, you've turned those into strengths, you know your opportunities and threats as an artist. But I want you to do this test as an artist entrepreneur. What are your strengths as a business thinking artist? Someone who wants to create a revenue stream from your creativity. Write down the word strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What does that look like for your art and for your art business as an art entrepreneur? Maybe you're very outgoing, that's a strength. Or maybe you're very, very shy, introvert, and you find it difficult to communicate. You could see that as a weakness. How could you strengthen this weakness? Maybe you can take a public speaking course, or be deliberate how you communicate and practice. Make this part of your skill set and turn it into a strength. Then look at the opportunities. What are the opportunities that are in your area geographically or in your situation, in your culture, where you can offer value with your art? And look at the threats. Of course, the pandemic is a threat we possibly never considered, but it has become a threat. So what can you do to turn this threat into an opportunity? Using the online space is a wonderful way to use the opportunities the internet has to offer. So go through this, spend some time, and make the SWOT analysis of your art and your art business. Getting to know yourself and the relationship with your money is super important if you want to make this work. Getting a clear idea of how much money you actually are earning. Getting a clear idea of how much money you actually need, and how much money do you actually want to make the next coming year, the next 4 quarters. Building your business around your art and creativity is not passive. It's not like, we'll see, one day. No, it's an active thing. You are in charge. You can make plans. You can take steps. Get very clear about your numbers. Take some time this week to get really clear about how you are doing economically. Do you have a clear idea of where your money is going? How your money is coming in? what the real picture is of your expenses, and how you can spread out your budget with the different costs that you are making to run your business. What do you need this coming year to support your life and your lifestyle? This will be different for all of us, depending where you are, where you live, depending on your lifestyle, your goals, and your expectations. Getting a clear picture of what you need to generate, that's where you need to start. You know how much you need, and you need to make some decisions. Do you need to change your lifestyle, or do you need to change the products, or do you need to change how to run your art business so that you can generate more income for that lifestyle? So it's finding that balance between your expenses and your income so that you can support that lifestyle and that your business will run sustainably, because that's the crux for so many artists, that there's that lack of income, so they can't run their businesses or can't make their art. So getting that understanding of the whole money side of your business is super important. And I'd also advise you to find someone that's knowledgeable in this area. Find a good bookkeeper that understands the artist's heart, that understands the ebbs and flows in creating, so that you can team up with someone who understands you and can advise you wisely, so that you can build momentum and scale your income, that you can grow exponentially through the years, so that you can generate enough seed to put back in the ground, to grow and to invest. Look over the next 12 months. How do you want to generate your income these coming months, these 4 quarters, the quarter that's coming up? Have a look at your calendar, have a look at your art, and make a realistic assumption of how much you can actually generate with it. Does the income, does your art generate enough to support your lifestyle, or do you need to possibly adjust your lifestyle? So it's all about getting control. There are so many variables in an artist's life, but there's so much you can control. So understanding what you need and what you need to generate will give you that control, so that you can see yourself more than just that artist. You are building a business around your creativity, and then you'll have the freedom to do what you love to do, and that's to create and make your art. Myth number 3, let's demystify this one. Times are really bad, Sonia, and no one wants to spend money on my art. Now, I know COVID has messed up our schedules, our plans, and our budgets for sure, but there are opportunities out there for you. You need to see them and seize them. At the time of this recording, the Netherlands has just gone into another partial lockdown. What people used to enjoy is just no longer possible. Going out or traveling or going to the theater or movies or having a lovely meal outdoors is no longer possible. And that might be true where you are in the world. We are spending more and more time at our homes, and people are renovating, cleaning, and redecorating. So a lot of the fun stuff is no longer possible. Enter the artist and art. Why do people go into nature? Why do people travel? They need excitement. Your art can offer people an escape. You can offer people an experience. How can you offer people an experience with your art? How can you present your art on your website or through your social channels that will give people that what they're longing for? People want to experience that freedom, want to experience nature, want to experience color, something exciting, and they're willing to pay for it. They're craving it. They haven't been able to spend their budgets on holidays or invest in other things, other luxuries. But they have the possibility to find you online and invest in your art. It's good to understand that your art is no longer a luxury. It's not a luxury. Art is an essential. Can you imagine being stuck indoors without that beautiful music, that inspiring movie, those uplifting words in the book that you're reading, the colors and the shapes and the art you see on your living room wall every day? We need art, just like we need oxygen. And if there's ever been a need for those visual storytellers, it's now. That's where you come in. Your art is important. And you have a way to make the world more beautiful. And your art can be a lifeline to someone going through a tough patch. So when many say, it's all over, you say, no, it's not over. It's just the beginning. And you show them what's possible. You've painted a picture of your dream scenario, of the future. You're giving people to dream again, to love again, to believe again. Your art has that capacity to transport people to the past, to the future, to a world that we're longing for, hoping for. Your art is important. It matters. And the more infused you are by this truth, the more you can excite people by the things that excite you. And you will share it on a whole new level. And your excitement and the passion for what you do is simply irresistible and will be super infectious. Are you clear about who actually buys your art? Maybe you're under the impression that your art is only for the rich and the famous, that only those that have the budget buy art. But art buyers come in all shapes and sizes. You should never judge a book by its cover. I know an art lover in the Netherlands who loves art so much he's chosen to adapt his lifestyle, live on a tight budget so that he'll have money left over for art. He buys art on a regular basis. And there are people that save up for art for years before they purchase a piece. Or there are people that fall in love with a piece and will do whatever it takes to buy it. So there are many art buyers out there in all shapes and sizes. And if there's ever been a time that people need that experience, that beauty, those distractions, it's now. Your art is important. So don't fall into that myth that people don't want to buy art. Let's move on to myth number 4. No one can afford my art. Have you ever exhibited your work and people say that your work is just too expensive? Or you've shared your work online and your followers say that your work is above their budget and they can't afford it? If you hear something like this, you should investigate, especially if you hear it more than once. If you're not selling your art at all, or people are simply not responding to your art or to your products, you need to have an honest look at your work. Is your art priced right? Have you found your pricing sweet spot between the level of your work, your market, the context in which you're selling your work? We'll look at pricing in the next step. But before we get there, let's have a look at why possibly people are saying that your art's too expensive, even though you may feel that what you're asking is fair and honest. First of all, you need to shake it off, and you are not alone. This is something many artists are hearing. It's just the fact that the art market is unhealthy. Your audience is ill-informed and doesn't always understand the value of an art piece that has taken time, energy, skill, training, materials, and a lot of work to create. Many people see art as something that they purchase at the dollar shop. They put a frame around it, and voila, it's art. We live in a time where on the one hand, the art market is oversaturated, and on the other hand, people are taste deprived. Consumers spend more money on gadgets than on art products, and they've lost the reality or an assessment of what good art actually is. Loud marketing campaigns and social influences steer art consumers in a predetermined direction, leaving artists with a small marketing budget in the dust. Audiences are so confused, and it's part of your job as an artist to educate your public. You can do this by what you share on social media or what you're posting on your website. Just being aware of the present-day climate will help you and hopefully inspire you to play a bigger part in your own artistic and business success. Because the biggest myth of all is that your art is just going to sell itself. You need to inform and educate your public. Just a brief look at history. Before the Second World War, art appreciation was part of most Europeans' education. You learned how to listen to music, how to appreciate literature, and how to look at art. You understood the value of art, of creative thought, of original thought. But times have drastically changed, and the internet has made information so accessible that viewers are bombarded by opinions, impressions, reviews, and they're totally confused about what good art is. Cultivating an informed opinion is critical, and informing your audience. Now you can leave that to the gallerist or to other artist experts, but you can play a role in growing your art business responsibly. Find ways to filter out the noise, start conversations, share your art story, and build rapport and trust with potential art collectors. On to the final myth. It's more of a misconception. It's difficult to put a price on what I love to make. Now, as soon as capitalism, the making of money, enters the art conversation, the whole landscape changes, and we seem to get into trouble as artists. Many artists find it difficult to put a price on what they love making. How do you ask money for something that's near and dear to us? The first step is validation. We've already looked at this, being convinced about your worth. But then it's time to get more pragmatic. Take the emotion out of the talk. Take the emotion out of the money talk. It's time to get really practical. There are ways that you can find your pricing sweet spot. And here are some factors that influence the price of your art. The size of your work, the materials that you used, the medium, the level of your experience, the demand, your market, whether it's printed, original, framed, unframed, and so much more. This episode comes with a special resource, How to Price Your Art Just Right. And you can access this free resource at www.soniasmallhere.com/price. You'll also find the link in the notes of the podcast where you're listening to this episode. Head over to this free resource if you want to find out how you can price your art and get your price just right. Because getting that price just right takes time. It takes trial and adjustments. Because if you're selling out too fast, your price may be too low. And if you're having trouble selling at all, then maybe you need to elevate your audience's experience of your art by improving your photography, upgrading your website, and strengthening your communication about your art. Or maybe you need to adjust your pricing, because your pricing will grow with you. As you grow in your experience, your art market will grow. The more your audience will be willing to pay for it. So develop a long-term strategy about pricing your art. Head over to the worksheet, you will find out more. In a live teaching in the Facebook community of this podcast, I'll be teaching more about the subject of pricing. Should you sell your art on your website? Should you add your prices to your website? And how to set up a sales system on your website and social channels. Join me on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Dutch time for this live teaching. Or you can head over to the replay in the Facebook community. Remember, if you want to make that chance for that 30-minute virtual coaching session, then head over to the Facebook community and join in today. Because at the end of the week, I'll be drawing one lucky artist who will join me for the personal coaching session. So any of these 5 misconceptions, myths ring true for your art and for your art business? As an artist, you need to nurture a healthy relationship with money. You need to determine the value of your art and communicate it loud and clear. We need money to sustain our art careers. In this difficult yet not impossible art market, we need to be creative in selling our art. We need to reinvent ourselves continually, having a keen eye for the opportunities that present themselves, and have the confidence to stand out, to be heard and seen. Paul van der Hoeven, a successful Dutch filmmaker, put it this way: I don't make movies I want to make. I make movies I can make. Our budget and the means have a voice. We need to be realistic as to what and when projects are feasible or possible. Now, artists may not all have developed a keen business sense, but this simply because it has never been encouraged or developed. If you want your art career to flourish, you need to get an understanding of how the art business works, and this is something you can learn, embrace, and understand. Economics and finances may seem daunting, but ask for help. Find people in your area that you can ask for help, and look for resources online. I recently heard of a local initiative where business people were partnering with local artists. They understand that they need each other and that together they can contribute to a healthier society. And did you know that Rembrandt didn't belong to the Artisans Guild, but to the Tradesmen's Guild? Rembrandt understood that his art had economical value, and that without seeing his art as a business, he would never have been successful. That's all for this week. Don't forget to head over to my website if you want to access that free art pricing resource. Join me next time for another episode of the Help I'm Artist podcast. This episode is going to be extra special as we'll be looking at the life behind the gallery door. Exhibiting your art is one of the most exciting and important aspects of a working artist's life. For many artists, the validation and exposure of working with a gallery is something they dream of and is often seen as the pinnacle of their artistic success. But is this realistic? And how does the gallery world work? There are many ways that you can exhibit your work, and whether you choose a gallery or plan to exhibit your own work, understanding gallery representation will help you find your best fit. Plan ahead and make the best smart moves for your art and your art business. In this episode, we'll be looking at the world of the gallerist. I had the privilege to interview Dutch gallerist David van der Linde from Gallery Bonaar for this episode. David lifts the curtain to the world behind the gallery door and what artists need to understand and know when considering gallery representation. This episode is practical and insightful, so please join me next week. And if you never want to miss an episode, then you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this episode. And please leave a review, as this means the world to me and will make the podcast more visible and easier for other artists to find it. Thanks for that. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. Until then.